So I didn't really plan on doing a video tonight, so I didn't even shave. But I had such a big breakthrough with rate-based feed forward that I just couldn't let it go a night. So I'm going to have to go ahead and do this video, and you're just going to have to forgive me for not shaving. Basically, I've done rate-based feed forward before on my original logic, but I did it a very different way. It was based on the amount of angular velocity that would be required to achieve the desired angle from where it was, or from the actual, in the amount of time given, which is 5/100ths of a second. But I put a limit on that rate, an acceleration limit, so that it wouldn't shake the wheel, because shaking is irritating. But with the new logic, actually even before the new logic, I started thinking that the rate-based feed forward was not particularly beneficial in light of all the other enhancements, so I removed it. But then I saw that the model is now putting out a desired rate, and there was a to-do item in the comments saying, to do add a feed forward based or a rate based feed forward. So that was in the back of my mind. So I got back into thinking about it, and I spent the day today researching different approaches for it, and I found that my thinking was backwards from what it needed to be. I had been using rate-based feed forward as like the supplement on top of angle-based. So angle was always the primary feed forward, and then I would add on to that with a rate, but I would only apply the rate if it was moving away from center. So I felt like it was like the turbocharger or something. What I discovered today is that was the opposite of what I needed to be doing. What I needed to do was turn off angle-based feed forward when the steering is near the center, and only use rate-based feed forward in that region, because rate-based is much more precise when you're close to the center, because you don't really know what the zero torque line is when there's wind or a slight bit of slope to the road, or alignment problems. But you always know that if the rate needs to go left, then you can just give it left. If the rate needs to go right, then you can give it right. But the further you get away from the center, the more angle is king. So because you don't want to ever give up angle because the rate is saying to go left. So I mean, if you're like turning 5 degrees to the right, and the model says, "Oh, go 4 degrees per second to the left," well, you just want to ignore that, because it's going to just go way too fast to the left. So basically, I was able to use some really good interpolation to where it just kills out all the angle-based feed forward in the center, and only uses rate-based. And then as it departs from center, it starts using angle again, and then fades out the rate, and it works so well. I've got it to where it's using almost entirely feed forward instead of error. I mean, it's always been the case where the car is mostly should know better than that. almost always been the case where basically the proportional error is red, the integral is yellow, so all this blue is feed forward. So basically the dark blue is rate. So you see the rate increases there until it gets to a certain point, and then it drops to nothing. And then the angle, the light blue, takes over, and it's king, for the big angle. The purple is when I'm overriding steering. So basically the really exciting stuff is that I've got it to where there's just almost no, there's just so little reliance on error for steering, and the motion is, there's just like no motion, no oscillation. Well, there's going to be some here, but when I've got good lane lines, there's just no motion at all, no oscillation, because the oscillation, I believe, is entirely caused by just error on top of error on top of angle, in wind and slope. So by doing rate in the middle, it solves that problem. So right there, we don't have any feed forward at all. So basically, there's no rate being requested and no angle really. So it's all just, I guess integration and just noise from vision and whatever. So we had a little bit of feed forward. Here's an exit on the right. It completely ignored it. You can see a little blip. I'm actually glad that I crossed that, because I need to retest my lane filtering with the new logic. So here's going to be another opportunity to see how the steering wheel responds to it. To actually take this exit, but okay, I'll take it. Okay, so this is a road with no stripes on the right hand side, so it's good for testing how it does with a curb on the right and a center stripe and bumps. So I'm hoping that this will tone down the it's either just a stripe on the left. I'm hoping that this will tone down the way the steering responds to bumps. It should. Because I've turned down the rate factor a lot, so it's now inverted from what it used to be. I've now got the angle factor increased up to like 4 or 5. So it standard tuning for all the cars is just 1.0. But by doing the rate-based feed forward in the middle, I'm able to increase the angle factor up to whatever I want it to be, and don't have to worry about it creating oscillations in the center. So I was able to turn it up to 4 or 5 and then the rate factor I've got down to 2.0. Sorry, 0.2. So it's less than 1, which is pretty much inverted from what it was in my old Logic, where I was doing 5-fold on the rate, and 0.5 on the angle. So I was just doing it wrong.